It's a busy time of year for Hayal Abu Jabal, apple harvest season in the occupied Golan Heights. Israel captured this area from Syria in the 1967 war. Hayal is a Druze, a member of a community of around 20,000 people. They have strong emotional ties to Syria and have never openly opposed the Assad government. But that is now beginning to change.
I am against the Syrian regime and its practices, and I am against oppression and the continuing controls on the economy of the country. I am of course with the Syrian people and their will for freedom. I am with them practicing their rights like any free citizen in the world.
To my left is the border fence that separates the occupied Golan Heights from Syria. Now in that direction, around 30 kilometers as the crow flies, is Damascus, and if one was to drive, you could be in the Syrian capital in under an hour. Behind me on the right here is the village of Majdal Shams, and villagers there are concerned that tension between supporters and opposers of the Assad government could escalate into violence. This is evidence of how widespread the support here is, in public at least, for Syria's president. The video was shot during the celebration for the release of a local man from an Israeli jail. But despite the public shows of support for Assad, sources told us that since the fighting began, only 2 people have crossed the border to join the Syrian army. Most people we stopped on the street refused to talk on camera. Some said they supported Assad because he stood by them in their opposition to Israeli rule, and he secured their rights to sell their goods in Syria. We were eventually directed to this man. He was angry at Arab states like Saudi Arabia and Qatar for working with the West.
I support President Assad in destroying the terror cells and Al-Qaeda that was created by US. I am for destroying every one of them until Syria returns to being democratic and civil state.
Despite the war across the border, the orchard owners still hope they can export this year's crop. But there are rumours of pro-Assad spies and a fear that anyone speaking out in opposition risks the Syrian regime blocking their trade.
If my opinion is an obstacle to me selling in Damascus, I don't care. Let the apples lie on the ground. The freedom and dignity of the human being is more valuable than apples.
Hayal, like all the Druze in the Golan Heights, wants an end to Israel's occupation. But disagreement over who should rule in Syria now is dividing his community. Stratford, Jazeera, Majdal Shams, the occupied Golan Heights.